So I thought I'd talk a little bit about karma today, which you might be surprised to find out is not a female dog. Karma is one of the most sort of like widely maybe recognized or used sort of Buddhist term that is also most widely misunderstood, even by Buddhists, actually. And we don't talk a whole lot about karma in Zen. It's in the Gata of Atonement where we talk about evil karma. But it's a very, very important, reality that whether or not you realize it, we work with intimately in practice. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about karma, the Buddhist perspective on it, and how we might practice with it. So karma is not sort of a cosmic revenge system. The kind of Western idea of karma is, if somebody does something bad or something we don't like, and we don't see them experiencing punishment right away, we might say, well, karma will get them. Or if we see something happen later on to someone we don't like or think is a bad person, we might say, karma, feel good, like the scales of cosmic justice have been rebalanced. That's not actually what karma is. Originally, karma, so the word karma is a very ancient word that actually can be translated to action. So action includes cause and effect. And action always occurs in context. So you can't sort of take an action out of reality. It occurs within the context of reality and is both simultaneously caused by and has an impact on reality at the same time. So the very ancient idea of karma was tied to reincarnation. So the idea that in ancient Indian religious thought, there is a sort of a soul or an agent, and then there were the actions that soul or agent took when they were in a body. And those actions accumulated over that lifetime, and then when that body died, the soul, or Atman, would be judged based on those actions, and then that would inform the next lifetime they had, what caste they were born into, what form they were born to. Would you be human? If you were human, what stage in life would you be born into? If you accumulated lots of bad karma, if your actions caused lots of suffering to yourself and others, you might come back as an animal or a demon. And there's even it's fascinating. I haven't done much of the reading, but some of it I have done. The ancients even worked out like which type of bad karma would lead to the next rebirth. So if you were really messy and dirty, you might come back as a rat or something, or dust mite. And then the idea is that in the next lifetime, you'd have an opportunity to, sort of undo that bad karma and hopefully have a favorable rebirth. So the Buddhist concept is different because the fundamental insight the Buddha had is that everything is impermanent. So there is no soul or Atman separate from action. And so it wouldn't then follow that it would make sense that at the end of this independent being's life, their actions would then inform their next life. The Buddhist perspective is that this set of conditions we call us or me or I is impermanent, and the actions we take affect the next sort of moment of how this being shows up. And even our karma is impermanent. So we're always evolving and changing. We're always acting, and our actions always impact not just who we are in the next moment, but everything around us. Which is a very hopeful message, because the original idea of karma is that it's this kind of very deterministic, our past actions and situations determine who we will be and how we will act and what will happen to us in the future. The Buddhist idea is kind of like a soft determinism. Our past actions impact what's possible and what we do now, and we have a choice, because even our karma and who we are is impermanent. We don't have to necessarily act in the same way. In the Gata of Atonement, we atone for evil karma. And so evil karma are actions that, whether intentionally or unintentionally, have caused ourselves and others suffering. And the thing about evil karma is that we may not see the results of those actions or be aware of them in the short term. So even if we do something that we have the intention of doing, the intention behind it is to do good, it may have unintended consequences that cause ourselves and others suffering. So we acknowledge that we're acting all of the time, and we've got moments where we're not completely aware of all of the aspects of reality that are going to be impacted by our behavior. And sometimes that results in suffering. Good karma is our actions that produce or reduce suffering, or produce some sense of relieving others' suffering. And the Buddhist term that's often used to describe the results of good karmic actions is merit. So the more good karma you put into the world, the more merit you accumulate, which to a point is better than bad karma. There's this idea that if you put lots of good karma into the world, you'll more and more resemble a Buddha. You'll take the form of a Buddha. Your thoughts and even your posture, you'll look more like an enlightened person. And looking like an enlightened person could be helpful, but that can also wind up being a trap. So Dōgen speaks a lot in the Yakugo Yojinshu, or Guidelines for Studying the Way, as well as many of his brief talks in the Shobo Genzo Zui Monke, which are really sort of brief talks he would give at the end of an evening to his monks about avoiding practicing for the purposes of wealth and fame and esteem. Because good karma, accumulating good karma, can solidify an identity or a sense of identity that you are a good person. And then you must continue to behave that way to maintain that sense of being a good person. So you become rigid, not flexible, not able to really respond to what the moment requires, but you're more responding to, like, how can I maintain this sense of being a good person, which is just strengthening the ego. Good karma is probably better than bad karma, but at some point, what the aim of practice is to take action that does not accumulate karma. So Sawaki Roshi often referred to as zazen as being good for nothing. And what he meant there is it's an activity that doesn't accumulate bad karma and doesn't accumulate good karma. It's a way of actually paying very, very close attention to both good and bad karma and letting it go. Those impressions that past actions have left on us and create tendencies and motivations that if we're not paying attention, we might just unconsciously then reenact. So in Zazen, all sorts of things might come up. You might have impulses to do this or that, thoughts about what you need to do in the future, maybe thoughts about what you did in the past. And one way to sort of work with that is to recognize that that's your karma. It's all coming up. I know that the first couple of days of sesshin for me, my mind and my body and my emotions are really, there's a lot going on. And that's usually because, daily life, although, try my best to practice Zazen as much as I can, in daily life where I have to act. And I'm not always in a place to act deliberately. I have to, react. So having a day or two of intense practice, you sort of notice all that accumulated karma, and then things might start to quiet down a little bit. The thing about it is, though, as long as you are alive, you can never stop accumulating karma. So even though you might have moments of sort of quiet, and when things quiet down, you'll be able to see your essential nature, which is impermanent and constantly changing, and that might carry some peace and clarity. As soon as we start to act again in the world, we start to accumulate more karma. So the Dharma, big D, Dharma, or the teachings of the Buddha or teachings of Buddhism, our study, is always about Dharma or phenomena, little d, Dharma. So big Dharma, teachings about reality in Buddhism, is really the study of Dharma, little d, Dharma, which is phenomena. When we really look, and that's really the study of our karma, our awareness of our karma. When we look very deeply into our actions and our motivations and our inclinations, we're practicing the Dharma with a big D. Realizing our impermanence, realizing that our past actions don't determine what we do in this next moment, and even letting go of the desire to be good, and more develop the capacity to be real and to respond in workable ways to conditions as they are right now. So I think it's very important to acknowledge that even though we don't maybe talk about karma very much in those terms and use that word, it's a vital part of practice, and one that would serve you really well to pay attention to, both on your practice on the cushion and also your practice off the cushion.